Football Game Plan NFL All-32 Show, where we break down every game every week across the NFL. I am David Hashtag, and with me is the czar of the playbook, Emery Hunt. Week 3 is in the books. The conversation does not, and it's time for the 4-minute offense as we talk about Week 4. The Jets and the Niners don't have much in common in 2019, except for the fact they both have a bye week this week. Where do we see both of these teams at this point in the season?
Well, for the Jets, it's obviously injuries at the quarterback position. They are now on their third-string quarterback. Luke Falk tried his best against the New England Patriots. Wasn't able to lead that offense to success on game day, so they have to get healthy. Hopefully, they get Sam Darnold back in another week or so therefore they can get this season back on track, especially on the offense side of the ball. But you like what they've done defensively. I think they've shown that they are going to be a team that's going to apply pressure constantly. They're not going to be afraid of the opponent. They're going to be in their face constantly throughout the course of a game. You like that attitude. Offensively, they have to get up to speed. For San Francisco, the defense has been the story for them. They've played phenomenal football within their front seven. Offensively, I think they're starting to find their rhythm. They're starting to figure out what they want to be. I think the backfield is tremendous. They have a ton of speed, a lot of explosiveness. And I think when you look at Jimmy Garoppolo, if he can protect the football, I think you're going to start to see their passing game be a little bit better moving forward, because I feel as though they're finally starting to figure out the right combinations on the perimeter, with Pettis catching the game-winning touchdown against the Steelers. You have Deebo Samuel, who's a beast out there. I think they're going to figure things out. The fullback is always involved with Kyle Juszczyk. George Kittle is George Kittle. They should be better on the back end of their bye week. So I like the way San Francisco is progressing at this juncture of the season.
Obviously, you mentioned the Jets 0-3, but there are a lot of winless teams right now. Which one of those teams is in the most trouble?
Well, I think when you look at winless teams, you're talking about teams that you expected to be in the mix, like the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they're the most in trouble. Even though we haven't seen Mike Tomlin have a losing season, we have seen him start 0-4 at times, or one time so far in the past, his tenure that he's been there.
That was in 2013.
So I think that right there is going to be one thing that we're going to look at and say, okay, maybe they're in trouble because they're down to Ben Roethlisberger, which was the difference in 2013. So I think that's the team that I'm most worried about. Miami is Miami. The Jets are the Jets right now. Both of those teams will probably have to get off. They're obviously going to have to get off the winning off the mat to have success. But that's an area of where I'm most worried.
Obviously, we are now 3 weeks into the season. Still quite a few undefeated teams so far. Which team are you buying? I know you're big on the Detroit Lions, right?
Well, you are what your record says you are, right? 2-0-1. You like that they're finding ways to win games, so you give Detroit credit for doing that. And when you look at other undefeated teams, Green Bay, the way they've been winning with defense and doing a great job and finding a way on offense. You also look at New England. They're going to be good down the stretch. Kansas City is going to be real good throughout the rest of the way of the season. So you like that the teams that are undefeated, they have things that you can hang your hats on. Buffalo, defense, a quarterback that may not have played great the entire 60 minutes, but if they need him to be great for 4 minutes, he's found a way to do that. And so you like that about him. You like that he's not afraid of pressure. I think that right there will yield itself positively for him moving forward. You want to see him find that consistency. So there's a lot you can draw from these undefeated teams. And when you look at what they do well, you can point to, okay, that's why that team is undefeated. This is why that team is undefeated. You look at the Rams, another one of those teams. Their play-action passing game is great. How phenomenal has it been for Jared Goff this year to have Cooper Kupp back?
Yeah.
That's been a huge thing. Their defense looks amazing. So I think each one of these undefeated teams you can point to and say, okay, I understand why.
Before we talk about our Week 4 preview here, let's talk about two quarterbacks who made their season debuts, Josh Rosen and Daniel Jones making their debuts. How would you grade both of these two quarterbacks in their 2019 openers?
Well, you give Daniel Jones an A because you like how he played when they needed him to play well. Down the stretch, it was his athleticism, his mobility that gave the Giants a chance. He was able to supersede the X's and O's. You call a play a certain way, it breaks down. What can you do past that? That's what you're looking for from your starting quarterback. He was able to do that, supersede that. He gets down inside the red zone with a lot of time left. That playbook was completely open, and to run it in for the game winner proved that he's going to continue to make it in 11 on 11 games. So he gets an A. For Josh Rosen, I would give him a C. I don't give people F, but C to me is baseline. I need you to be at least better than a C. So for him, it's baseline. he has to play a lot better, man. And it's sad because you saw a guy that was a good prospect coming out of college. You expected the light to come on at some point, whether it was with Arizona last year or this season so far with Miami. It hasn't. He has to play better moving forward. Let's see if he can improve on his performance this upcoming weekend.
The Daniel Jones hype train, though, in full effect in East Rutherford. Let's talk about week 4, though, and let's talk about our matchup of the week, the Thursday night game, the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Green Bay Packers. Two teams that are going in kind of different directions. The Packers are off to an undefeated start. The Eagles struggled in their last game. They have now a quick turnaround to get things back in order. What are we looking for in terms of the big matchup on the field between these two squads?
I think the biggest matchup will be the Eagles receiving core against that Packers secondary. You talk about Jair Alexander, who I think is arguably one of the best corners in the game already in his second season. He's definitely on his way to being an all-pro. So that's number one. And you look at the inexperience of those guys on the opposite side for Philadelphia. Can they get guys healthy? Will they have Deshaun Jackson back? Will they get Alshon Jeffrey back? Can those guys hold on to the football? They had some key drops against the Detroit Lions. So if they can play well against a team that can not only match up one-on-one, but also do a great job of taking the ball away, that's the biggest matchup in this ball game that I'll be keeping an eye on.
Who do you think are the biggest X factors in this game? Because obviously there's been a lot of criticism in Philadelphia around the receiving core. Are those the X factors for them to win this ball game?
I think the running game for Philadelphia is the biggest X factor. You could take a lot of pressure off your receiving core if you're able to run the football. That's something that they haven't been able to do all season long. And they made a big to do about it in this offseason, bringing in Jordan Howard, drafting Miles Sanders. Both guys haven't been as effective. The running game for Philadelphia, for Green Bay, their offense, their passing game, can they start to have success? We've seen them be kind of hit or miss or intermittent throughout the course of this short season, but those are the two biggest X factors, the passing game of Green Bay and the running game of Philadelphia.
Eagles or Packers, who do you like in this ballgame?
Love the defense, so you can't go wrong with a defense in this game. But I do like Green Bay because of what they bring to the table offensively. Quietly, they're running the football. They have some balance. Defensively, they look like one of the better defensive teams in the league. It's legit. It's 3 games in a row they play great defense. I like Green Bay in this one.
When we come back, we will break down all of the Week 4 action right here on the NFL All-32 show on the Game Plus Network. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Football Game Plan NFL All-32 show. Now it's time to take a look at all of the Week 4 action across the league. Jets and 49ers have a bye this week, but we start with the Titans traveling to Atlanta to take on the Falcons, both teams that are struggling to get their offenses into gear at the moment. Mariota and the Titans, though, a little bit more pressure on them.
Well, a lot more pressure on their offensive line. They got beat badly against the Jacksonville Jaguars on Thursday night. So that offensive line needs to have a better performance against Atlanta, who quietly is struggling to get to the quarterback. So you don't want this to be the game where the Falcons have found their way as far as rushing the QB and getting after the QB. They had some success against Carson Wentz a couple of weeks ago. They couldn't really do so against Jacoby Brissett, but now they're facing an offensive line that has some issues up front, especially on the interior. They have to play better there. So when I look at Atlanta in this game, can they come and take full advantage of that offensive line, put Marcus Mariota in backed up situations to where you're going to rely on his arm to win the ball game. So this is going to be a tough matchup for Tennessee, and in this ball game, I do like the Falcons to win.
Next up, a big divisional matchup between the Patriots and the Bills. Both teams 3-0. Buffalo might have the better defense between the two of these squads and the best in the division, but New England is New England. It should be a really tough contest.
Right, because New England's defense is just as good as Buffalo, so it's a great defensive game. What I'll be watching for is how well Josh Allen plays situationally. Again, outside of the full game, when you look at how he plays on third down or inside the red zone, he seems to lock in and play really well. We know Tom Brady in their passing game, it looks as though everyone is always open. Every time on short passes, intermediate passes, someone is always making a play because they're always wide open. So what can Josh Allen do to keep their offense on the field, number one, and keep their offense productive? They're going to need 7 and not 3. I do like New England in this game. I think the Patriots offense, in conjunction with their defense, they play, it's like the yin and the yang, and they do a great job playing off one another. I think they'll do a great job in this one and taking care of Buffalo. But Buffalo will show positively. This won't be a blowout. They'll keep it close. They'll be inspired. But I do like the Patriots.
And never bet against the Bills in Buffalo, but we'll see how that one goes. Next up, the Chiefs taking on the Lions. Again, a battle with two teams. The Lions, they're undefeated. They haven't been impressive. The Chiefs, though, have now scored 25 points or more in 24 straight games. That's a new NFL record. Mahomes, can anyone stop him right now?
Well, the one thing that can stop Mahomes is a pass rush. That seems to be what teams haven't been able to do against Kansas City. We saw the Ravens affect the pocket a little bit, but then you run the risk of getting Mahomes outside the pocket, and we know he can throw from any platform, from any angle, and throw it accurately and deep down the field. So it's pick your poison with Mahomes. So for Detroit, can that defense do a great job and really not allowing the big play? So you want to keep everything in front of you. You want to do a great job in applying pressure, maybe send delayed pressure, send it late, so therefore you have an opportunity to see where he's going to lock in at and keep him bottled up in that pocket. On the offensive side of the ball for the Lions, can they find a running game?
Next one up, the Oakland Raiders taking on the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts have looked really, really good, as we thought here on the show in the preseason under Jacoby Brissett. But the Raiders bring a definite new set of challenges that the Colts haven't seen yet this season.
Well, speed on defense. I think the team speed for Oakland is impressive, especially defensively, and that can cause problems because you can match up. Now we know the Colts on their side of the ball, as far as defense is concerned, they're going to be without Malik Hooker, their free safety, who's going to be out between 4 to 6 weeks with a torn meniscus. That's unfortunate because that takes away your center fielder. It's going to put a lot of pressure on guys to communicate and make plays, because usually your center fielder does a great job of erasing mistakes back there, and that's what Hooker was. Offensively, it hasn't missed a beat with Jacoby Brissett. Their offensive line has done a great job in protecting him. He's doing a great job in protecting the football and getting the ball to the right guy, to the open guy. The running game has been a big key for Indianapolis in this opening part of the season. I like them to win this game. Oakland, despite showing flashes of talent, they've been vastly inconsistent. I worry about Derek Carr and his ability to handle pressure. I do like Indy to win this game.
Next up, the Los Angeles Chargers travel down to South Beach to take on the Dolphins. Chargers were outscored 20-3 in the second half and lost their game last week. Could not close it out. We know the problems that Miami is having. Is this the game for both teams to kind of get forward and get another win?
For Los Angeles, they tend to play down or up to their competition. I feel like they play the same game every week, and it's always a tight game. It's always a close game. In this game, can the defense keep that Dolphins offense from gaining any traction? I love the pieces that they have as far as the versatility of what they bring to the table. They can match up, they can get creative and put safeties at linebacker, and linebackers can get out there and cover. Kaiser White is one guy that comes to mind, but they can rush the passer. On offense, we know they can attack touchdown to check down, so they can work vertically. They're going to take advantage of a thin Dolphins roster because of all the changes and the ineffective play. And we saw Dolphins play inspired ball early on against the Cowboys, and then it tailed off in the end. I think the Chargers will come out to Miami, start fast, and run away with this ball game. I do like the Chargers big against the Dolphins.
Another divisional matchup, this time in the NFC East. The Redskins taking on the Giants. Daniel Jones, his first start last week, gets the win, coming from behind from 18 points down, had 300 yards passing. The Redskins, also a team that doesn't have great defense. This could be another game for Daniel Jones to shine.
And we'll learn about this Giants offense without Saquon Barkley. We have never seen that before until last week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Can Josh Rosen do enough, Daniel Jones do enough with his legs to compensate the running game or complement the running game with whoever they're going to have in the backfield? Maybe Wayne Gallman, maybe they bring somebody in. But I think Jones' ability to do things with his legs gives him an opportunity. And with the Redskins not being able to cover well on the back end, we see Josh, I keep calling him Josh Rosen, but it's Daniel Jones, to have the success with certain receivers. Shepard was able to step up big. Both Shepards and Slayton did a great job last week. We also saw the tight end Evan Ingram. So I think the Giants have enough in the passing game. I think their defense will play inspired and finding ways to create pressure. So I like the Giants to win this one against Washington.
One last one before we go to a quick break. The Browns taking on the Ravens. Not all happy in Cleveland. They're 1-2. The Ravens coming off a tough loss to Kansas City, but Lamar Jackson continues to impress. But if both quarterbacks, Jackson and Baker Mayfield, are on their game, this could be a really exciting contest.
Yeah, and if both quarterbacks are on their game, it's going to make it an exciting match like you talked about. But the biggest matchup is the Browns offense and their ineffectiveness against this Ravens defense that's looking to get better. Quietly, the Cardinals were able to have success throwing the football on them and move the football on them. We saw the Chiefs have success in moving the football on them in the passing game. So maybe this is what the doctor ordered for the Cleveland Browns offense. I don't see their defense being able to rattle Lamar Jackson. And we saw them have success in the passing game, the Ravens, and we saw the Rams have success in the passing game against this Browns secondary who fought well with their injured, secondary. A lot of their starters were out in that game. Some of those guys may be back, but I like Baltimore in this one. Lamar Jackson seems to lock in and play, real good football, situational football inside the red zone. Doesn't turn the ball over, hasn't turned the ball over yet this season. I think because of that in their defense, I do like Baltimore to win this game.
Welcome back, fans. Let's get back to the Week 4 predictions. Defense could be on display in Texas as Houston hosts Carolina. The Panthers will be without Cam Newton for a second straight week. Houston has looked very, very good, though, all around on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, so has Kyle Allen, the quarterback for the Carolina Panthers. And this is a tough matchup for Houston because Carolina is so versatile and diverse in what they bring to the table. They can run, they can throw, they spread you out, they attack individual matchups. Houston has a no-quit attitude. They are the AFC South version of the Los Angeles Chargers, playing the same type of game every week. Everyone is going to be in it. It's going to be either a close game or just exciting to watch. But I do like Houston in this one. I think defensively, the way they won that game against Los Angeles, defending those deep balls at the end, great job in the secondary. Offensively, Deshaun Watson is a phenomenal football player, a star, one of the bright young stars in this league. I like the Texans.
Moving out to the West Coast now in Los Angeles, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the LA Rams. Cooper Kupp, the Eastern Washington product, back from the ACL injury from last year. He looks much better this season, and the Rams' offense has really clicked because of him.
Yeah, you wonder how well they would have done in the Super Bowl if Cooper Kupp would have been healthy and out there. He seems to be the big playmaker that makes their offense go because quietly they're not getting it from their running game. And that's where Tampa Bay has a chance in this matchup to make this one a one-dimensional game. They can make this a Jared Goff versus Jameis Winston game. I think the defense will do a good job in stopping the run, and that's something that is going to hurt Los Angeles because it's going to make them one-dimensional. Then you apply pressure to Jared Goff, who doesn't do a good job versus pressure. But you can say the same thing against Jameis Winston, who tends to get a little skittish when the pressure comes, and that's when the interceptions happen. That's when the mistakes happen. I think this game will be a lot tighter than people expect it to be, but I do like the Rams to win this one at home.
Critical game coming up for the Cardinals and the Seahawks. Seattle looking to come back from after a loss in Week 3. The Cardinals still looking for their first win for their new head coach and their rookie quarterback Kyler Murray. How do we see this one playing out in the desert?
It's funny because I've made this comparison throughout the show, but the Seahawks are the NFC West version of the AFC West version of the Chargers and the AFC South version of the Houston Texans. They play the same type of game every week. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be back and forth. They'll have a lead, and they'll lose that lead, and they'll come back and win it. But when you look at what they do well, it's play defense. And I think in this game against this opponent, this rookie quarterback, they have an opportunity to get their defense off to a great start because quietly, the Cardinals have still yet to run the football with effectiveness. They want to throw the football to set up the run or let the short pass be what they use as a running game. That's not going to work against a team like Seattle that challenges you in your face, press coverage. They play tight up front, and they do a great job of really, smothering you in the pocket. And that right there is going to make things tougher for Kyler Murray in that passing game. So I do like Seattle to win this one. This should be entertaining because of it's a divisional matchup, but I do like the Seahawks defense in this one.
Another NFC North battle as the Vikings take on the Bears. Obviously, a lot of eyes have been on Mitch Trubisky, but this could be a strength versus strength matchup. The Vikings offense against this Bears defense.
I like how you phrase that because their offense, sans Kirk Cousins, it's a good offense. They got great receivers. Offensive line play has been excellent. It's been improved. Running game is phenomenal with Dalvin Cook back there, but Kirk Cousins is a quarterback, so that neutralizes everything on offense. Chicago, you have Mitch Trubisky, neutralizes everything they do on offense. So this would be about defense, special teams. I expect one of these low-scoring field goal for field goal games, but I do like Minnesota. I can trust Kirk Cousins a little bit more than I can trust Mitch Trubisky. Their defense is equal. All things being considered, you lean towards the better quarterback, and right now that's Cousins.
The Minshew Mustache Appreciation Club now goes to Mile High. The Jags taking on the Broncos, where they will face Flacco and that Broncos offense, which has really sputtered at the beginning of this season. Is this a bigger game for Minshew or Flacco?
It's a bigger game for Flacco because quietly Flacco they've been productive. The statistics look good for Flacco, but he's taking a lot of sacks. And I don't know if that's part because of the offensive line. Some of it can be attributed to the offensive line. Some of it can be attributed to Flacco holding the ball a little bit too long, being a little bit too slow to process in his setup. So when you look at that with how Jacksonville can get after it, as far as rushing the passer is concerned, you kind of like Jacksonville in this game. But we've seen Denver have games won before. Now, their defense can apply pressure. I think this is the game we'll see Minshew come back to earth. I like the Broncos to win this one at home.
Moving on to Sunday Night Football, the Cowboys taking on the Saints. The Saints proved they could win without Drew Brees. That was the first time that he did not start a game for New Orleans since 2005. But they have a really tough test against a Dallas team that's really clicking to start the year.
Last year, the shoe was on the other foot. You had the Saints coming into Dallas with all of the offense, big-time record. Cowboys was heavy underdogs in that game, and they found a way to win. Now the tables are turned. People are underselling the Saints coming into this matchup, but you like how the Cowboys are clicking on offense. Run game, passing game, offensive line looks great. La'el Collins is having a fantastic year. Looks to be their best offensive lineman this season, which is great because he was a weak spot last year and the prior year, but he's playing great football. So offensively, they're great. Defensively, they're getting better. They can apply pressure. So they have all the pieces to be successful. The Saints, yeah, they won. They won last week with offense, defense, and special teams. Can they have an encore performance? I don't think they'll win in all three facets. I think they can get two, but I also like the Cowboys to win all three. I'm going with Dallas.
Let's move to the Monday night game, and unexpectedly, two winless teams on Monday night here in Week 4. The Bengals taking on the Steelers. It's only the third time under Mike Tomlin the Steelers have started 0-3. It's their worst start since 2013 when they started 0-4. They finished that year 8-8, so still hope for Mike Tomlin and what he's able to do as a coach, but a lot of pressure on Pittsburgh now.
Yeah, and you look at who they're playing, a division rival. Cincinnati does have some good talent on defense, and I think their offense can find ways to have success. Yes, they don't have A.J. Green. Yes, they have a banged-up Mixon that's trying to tough it out there, but I think when you look at the quarterbacks, you have to trust Andy Dalton more so than Mason Rudolph. But you like the fact that that team against the San Francisco 49ers found ways to turn the ball over. Minka Fitzpatrick, first game in there, got an interception, did a great job for that defense. I think the defense of Pittsburgh will do a great job in keeping Cincinnati out of the end zone. You'll see a lot of field goals, but I think what will happen is later on in the game, you'll find Pittsburgh getting confidence, Mason Rudolph starting to have success. So I'm going with Pittsburgh to win this ball game.
That will do it for the Football Game Plan All-32 show. For all your football knowledge, don't forget to go to footballgameplan.com, where you can listen to the NFL All-32 podcast with myself, Emery, Troy Anthony, and Alex Marinoni, breaking down the NFL news and notes, as well as all of our college football coverage, which can also be found on YouTube at youtube.com/footballgameplan. For the czar of the playbook, Emery Hunt, I'm David Hassagen. Thanks for watching.